wants to start? Maxwell, you want to start? How do you get started in reading workshop once you have your book figured out? What do you do first? Emily? Okay, so did you guys hear her? She first starts reading the book and then stops to jot some things on a sticky note, like things she doesn't really understand. Good strategy, right? What else do you guys do while you're reading? Taylor? Okay.
Whenever I used to have a comic books, and whenever I get to a page that I don't understand, I get a sticky note and I write it first, and I write a long note. Because that's usually when
Especially when you read nonfiction, there's lots of I wonders when you read nonfiction. So similar to Emily, that you start reading and then when you kind of have a question, you stop to write out a sticky note. That's something you wonder. Okay, what about you? What do you do when you get started reading and reading workshop? Okay. So that's interesting because you guys were kind of thinking about what you put on your sticky note, but did you hear the strategy that Ewan uses? He really is monitoring himself while he's reading because he understands that as he's reading, he might come across a word he doesn't know, and he stops to try to figure that word out. Good reading strategy. Okay, that's all about you. When you sit down to read, what's the first thing you do? Okay, so you look at the cover and you think, what's this book about? It's a good starting strategy, and then where do you go from there? Okay, so you look at this table of contents to kind of guide what you're thinking, or where you're going to read and where you want to learn. Also, especially in nonfiction, because you can look at a table of contents and go, ooh, this is cool, let me go read about that. You don't have to read it in order. Awesome. Do you read those things, or do you just keep flipping through and finding what you like? And then use the table of contents to help you figure out where to begin. Love that. Those are all great strategies. What I want to teach you today is how are we going to really read the reading workshop. Okay? So we have two ways of reading. We have fake reading and we have real reading. So let's talk about real reading and what real reading looks like. Okay, so here's my chart. Real reading is our eyes are moving across the page and we're really reading the words. So if I were to read this book, How We Use Wool, my real reading is watching me as I really read this. Did you see my eyes? Watch my eyes again. Watch what they're doing on the page as I'm reading the words. Across the page there. Did you notice that? This is what fake reading would look like. If I'm not really reading these words, this is what it might look like. Do you see what happened there? My eyes didn't move at all, did they? They kind of just zoned out because it looks like I'm reading, but when you really look closely, I wasn't reading. So can you show me right now what your eyes will do as you really read this book? I want to watch you really read the words on one page in that book. Open up that book. I'm watching. You can go to any page you want right now. This is a little bit different than fiction and nonfiction. This is what we as readers really do and what we shouldn't really be doing. Okay, so I'm watching. Oh, I see you and I see his eyes moving across the page. That's another way to show that you're really reading. Okay, stop. That was fabulous. I was watching all of your eyes, and I could tell you were really reading those words. Sometimes, as readers, we have to use our finger to kind of keep on track, and that's okay to do too, okay? Because that's how we keep track of what we're reading. Some people do use sticky notes. So real reading is our eyes are moving across the page. Fake reading, we're flicking through those pages really, really quick. Okay, you ready for the next real reading strategy? Real readers finish the book before they start a new one. Do you finish a book before you go on to another one in your bag? You should. Okay. Well, then maybe we have to talk about choosing a book that's just right for us during reading workshop. Yeah. Because these books are really fun to read, but for reading workshop, we want to make sure that we're reading books that we can finish so we can work on our brain to get bigger and bigger and read longer and longer books. Now, are you going to, like if you had a chapter book, would you be able to finish it in one class period? No. But that's okay. If I could get 2 chapters read today, then tomorrow I'll pick up on chapter 3. Okay? Even though I have all these other bags in my book bag, I'm going to finish an entire book before I go on to another one. And that's sometimes hard, because if we're really reading, we're going to stay in our books a little bit longer, right? So real reading is they finish a book, and at the end, they stop to think about it. What do I think about this book? Do I want to read another book like it? Do I like this author? Do I want to see if there's other books from this author? Or, I have something that I want to know more about. This Deadliest Animals, that one was pretty cool. Maybe I want to go research more on this tiger. Okay? Want to see what fake reading is for that one? Choosing new books without finishing one. Look at this little sign. New book, new book, new book. So if you have been, during reading workshop, going through a lot of books in one period, by this time of year in 2nd grade, you're probably not going to do that anymore. Okay? I love that. I love that you're thinking, okay, I'll put a sticky note to mark my spot, and then I'm going to start this other book, which is fine, but research shows that our brains can only handle 1 or 2 storylines at a time. So if you're reading a separate book at home, or if your teacher is reading a separate book to you, then our brains really need to stay with just one book during reading workshop. Okay, so it's going to be different than maybe what you're thinking. And so if you have both of these books, and you really want to read this one, challenge yourself to finish this one first, and make this as like a reward that you finish this one, and now you get to read this one. Okay? Exactly. Exactly like that. You finish your food, and then you get your dessert. So you can kind of pick out which book is going to be my dessert book after I finish reading. Okay? I love that. All right, next real reading strategy. We'll talk in a little while, Maxwell, okay? Because I'm going to try to move through here so I can get you guys out to really read. Get started immediately. That's why I kind of asked you guys what you do to get started. I think we need to talk about that. Okay? When we come into reading workshop and our teacher tells us that we need to go to our nooks and get started, it means that we already know what book we're going to read that day. Because since we're working on finishing the book, we're going to choose the book that we need to finish. And we're going to pull that out, we're going to reflect on what we read yesterday, and open that book and get started right away. That's a big one. Okay? What happens if we're not really reading that day? What's happening when we're getting started? What do y'all think? Passing through a few pages, going through all your books. Taylor?
Switching books whenever you're like on the first page and you just go.
Exactly. That is fake reading. That's not real reading. And I think you've got it down, Taylor. You really seem to understand that. Wasting time getting started. Maybe we're getting up and getting a drink. Maybe we're going shopping for another book. Maybe we need to go to that. Maybe we need to talk with our friend across the way. That's not what real readers do. Real readers open their books right away. Okay? Finally, well, we had two more, but they kind of go hand in hand. You ready? Our sticky notes show thinking. You guys told me that you use sticky notes. And our books are just right. We want to make sure that we can read and understand the books that we have chosen. Okay? And our sticky notes need to have some thinking involved. So, like, I bet there's some really cool facts in here. I bet, right? So, on your sticky note, instead of just writing the fact, so that's when you could say, you could write the fact and say, this is cool because, like, explain why you chose that fact. That's really good for nonfiction. Okay, any cool facts that you find, explain why you think it's cool. For fiction, it's just, I think blank. I think frog will because. All right? Easy enough? I want to check your sticky notes on them. Okay? And what do you think fake reading? For this one, sticky notes show thinking. What do you think the fake is going to be?
Sticky notes don't.
Exactly. And then books are just right. What do you think it's going to be?
Books that are easy.
Or hard. Yeah, they can be too easy or too hard. We want to make sure they're just right. When we look at a book, we want to make sure that we can read the words on the page and that we understand what we're reading. So we actually have to stop and think. Okay? What I want you to do is go back to your book nook and I am going to watch you for the next 10 minutes to see how you are doing real reading. You, and before you go back, pick one of these strategies that you're really going to work on today. This one, your eyes moving across the page. I love that. I'm going to read it with you so you remember, okay? Really read those words, and you have a good strategy for what happens when you come across an unknown word. So I want you to keep using that strategy, okay? And finish that book. I'll be watching. Go back to your spot. Emily, what's your strategy? Okay, so what's going to be the strategy that you use for real reading today with this book? Don't be thinking about your strategy. You're going to finish the book? Awesome. Start at the beginning and finish the whole book. Okay? I want you, for this time, because we're just starting it, I want you to start at the beginning and read the whole book. You might not finish it today, and that's okay. But tomorrow, if you don't finish it today, tomorrow you pick it back up where you left off. Okay? Don't go on to another book until you finish it. Yeah. Get started immediately. I think that is such a good strategy for you, Maxwell. Awesome. So what are you going to do to get started immediately when you go back? All right, I'll be watching. And keep real reading the whole time. It goes beyond just getting started. Finish the whole book? I love it. So just like I told Emily, I want you to start from the beginning on this book, because this one's not